Well, hello there and welcome to the bathroom of the dollhouse where all the pontificating gets done. That's right, for another reading from The Secret Language of Birthdays by Gary Goldschneider and you Stelfers for February 28th, the day of Zest. That's right. And here at the top of the page is a visual representational image of the day of Zest. We have us, what could it be? See if I can fight the book here into position. Oh, it seems to be an old-timey weightlifter with some old-timey dumbbells there. That's right, or maybe not dumbbells, but weight bar if you like, with the balls on the end. Hey, does that speak to the day of Zest? I don't know, maybe a little bit. Sometimes these things don't necessarily line up or make a lot of sense, but I like folks to know what's on the page in front of me so you can be part of the dynamic that's going on off screen. That said, visual representational image aside, it's not altogether all too important, not when it's February 28th and it's somebody's birthday. So if your birthday is February 28th, what's important around here? Wishing you a happy birthday. So, happy birthday. But if this video finds you late, I don't know, days, weeks, months, whatever the case may happen to be, well, I hope you had a happy birthday in that instance. That said, other folks like to join us randomly, see what's going on the day, or more ideally, they like to join to celebrate themselves. And so if that's the case, I just want to say hello, welcome, and I hope you enjoy yourself. Now, before I dive in with the redirect, something I like to take a few minutes to do around these here parts, and that is roll some dice. That's right, this is the DykASSt birthday broadcast, so I like to live up to the namesake, but I do so more importantly for synchronicity's sake. And here I rolled us a 1 and a 2 for a 3. Now, what is synchronicity, you're probably wondering? Well, my friends, a lot of the time when we're getting out into the world, just doing our everyday goings on there, the universe, as I hear tell, is apt to put things in our path to help us realize our goals or manifest our aspirations. But if we're very narrow or laser or focused, or we ostensibly have the blinders on to what's going on around us, we may not be apt to see those things or lend them a lot of credence. You know, we may see things as they're going, but you know what? We're just kind of letting them flow right by. So this is a little bit of an exercise to help us identify those things that the universe may be putting in our path, all right? And how do we do that? Well, we need some kind of mutually agreed upon sign between us and the universe. Ostensibly something we can't help but notice. Hopefully, that's right. Your daily numbers. Now, you don't have to go with the numbers that I rolled for you. The intention is there, but if you do decide to go with your own numbers, you might also want to grab yourself a pair of dice, all right? It's ideal because if you get out there to do this, you want to have directional values to go by. You ascribe them to number sets there, and also time limits with which to go in those directions. You're essentially letting the universe take the wheel and show you where to go, so it can show you things, hopefully, all right? That said, pick yourself out a place you like to go, or maybe one you haven't explored before, and set out. But like I said, get those blinders off, all right? And start soaking up everything around you, because you never know, the day might start to take on a little bit of a theme, all right? It's another thing to kind of show you that the universe is with you on your path. You take the visual representational image here for something to kind of key on into. Maybe you start seeing old-timey folks or people wearing, you know, old-timey one-piece swimsuits walking down the street. Maybe they're on some kind of photo shoot, or, you know, those old-timey dumbbells, just giant spheres on the end of poles. I don't know, but it's something like that. If you start to see them pretty regular, take note of as much, all right? And just be like, okay, what else is going to present? Maybe that was interesting thing, that was interesting thing. And maybe they just start popping up all over the place. It could also be on advertisements or stickers on street signs. You know, those slap taggers like to put up some pretty random stuff. Or you never know, just something that's in the window display. Might just be taking on a bit of a theme, all right? That said, you get out there, roll your dice, your first time value, directional value, and maybe at the end of this thing, you're not seeing anything of interest. It's just the everyday goings on. Never fret, just, you know, maybe you're getting your steps in at the very least. Just kind of take it in stride, let things catch up with you. And maybe take a moment to compose yourself, look around, and you might just so happen to notice something small, as I often like to say. Like you might be on old 3rd Avenue, all right? Or maybe it's 21st. I don't know, whatever lines up there with your particular number, but I would take that as a sign of something like that, that you're on the right path. All right, so roll yourself a directional value time limit again and set off. Maybe at the end of this one, you find yourself in front of a building and it just so happens to have your number and the address. I would take that as a sign that maybe you should try to go in there, all right? Well, I don't know. Maybe it seems like an old-timey type of gym. Oh, that would seem right in line with it. But hey, maybe the door is locked. Oh, shoot. Hey, this doesn't seem to be lining up with things. No sooner do you turn around to leave, hey, maybe somebody comes up right behind you. Can I help you? Oh, I'm just let them know what you're up to. I know it sounds kind of crazy. Show them your dice, maybe show them this video. I'm just out here trying to line up some synchronicities. I rolled some dice, it led me right here. My daily numbers is the address. Like, that's nuts. Yeah, and you have to say, I know. And they go, well, not the synchronicity. That's pretty crazy too. But it might just be it's their birthday too, for yet another coincidence or piece of synchronicity. I think they're used somewhat interchangeably, but yeah, get out there. See, keep stacking up the coincidences if you like. It might just so happen that they own the gym, they let you in, and they're not there to really open things up. They just needed to drop something off, and maybe they're apt to join you on the journey, all right? It's their birthday too, from the sounds of it, and maybe they just want to stack up and see some ostensible magic themselves. And what's great about this is the more people who are apt to join in, you're apt to beget greater results. All right, so get out there, maybe meet some new individuals, shake up your life, do something interesting. It is your birthday, but you can do this any day. All right, so if you're apt to see, taste, touch, smell, intuit any of the magic, you know what, I think you're apt to see why I brought it up. All right, so I think you get the idea. Let's get on with your birthday read. Your month is February, your day is the 28th, your sign is 8 to 10 degrees Pisces of the Pisces I period specifically, and your quality and element is mutable water. All right, February 28th, the day of zest. Those born on February 28 have a tremendous zest for life, which they communicate to everyone who meets them. These positive, energetic individuals are able to brighten up most occasions with their vibrant personality. Yet, on the other hand, they have a propensity for heading off in entirely the wrong direction, full steam ahead. And to make them aware of this is almost impossible when they are caught up in their own enthusiasm. And they can be at once assured and positive, dynamic, effective, or destructive, depending upon the circumstances. And obviously those born on this day would do well to sit down and contemplate their direction in life, and get to know themselves better, and be more deliberate and purposeful with their actions. And because their energies tend to be diffused and dispersed, and since they can so easily get carried away with new endeavors, February 28 people may adopt an unrealistic attitude toward the world, which causes those near and dear to them a great deal of worry. And part of the problem is that some February 28 people may like having others worry about them, and may even engage in dangerous or uncertain activities precisely to get that attention. And for those born on this day, it is the actual excitement of events and the sensations that arise both in themselves and in others that keep them feeling vital and alive. However, they must learn to be highly discriminating in their choice of endeavors and involvements, and taking on challenges that are not only risky but also worthwhile and rewarding, not just in the short term, but over a lifetime. And because they choose to live in such a vital and uncompromising way, February 28 people are likely to experience far more of life than the average person. And most born on this day wouldn't have it any other way. On the other hand, uninhibited enthusiasm can lend to carelessness or thoughtlessness, which stands in the way of their serious development. Also, as they mature, February 28 people may find that the negative after effects of their activities begin to outweigh the fun or stimulation. And those born on this day need to imbue their zest for life with understanding. through both intensely positive and negative encounters. They may eventually come to develop a personal philosophy and deepen their spiritual understanding of life. The question is, at what point experience will at last translate into wisdom? And for some born on this day, such an evolution takes place quite late in life. For others, not at all. Indeed, it is incumbent upon February 28 people to at some point stand removed from life's passing show and observe themselves and others living. All right, pretty interesting, fascinating birthday breakdown today, I would say. It was rather hyper-focused, and I bring that up because the reading before we got into the Capricorn period and on through to today, the birthday breakdowns were rather well-rounded. They would get into what people were like as siblings or children, or even as parents, and then they would kind of expand out from there. But here, and over the last few periods, they've been hyper-focused on not the theme per se, or also some subject, and then they expand out from there. Here for you, it was the zest of life, the excitement, and how that all translates out into your life more specifically. So they didn't really round it out there. And I only bring that up because, like I said, it's something to take note of, I would say. Having said that, I like to provide a little bit of a commentary on what we just read, maybe make connections to days previous, the period writ large, and also just things that I found interesting. So let's dive into it, shall we? February 28th, the day of zest. You possess a tremendous zest for life, as they said, and you're said to relate to everyone you may meet with positive energy that is able to brighten up most occasions, considering your vibrant personality. Interestingly, however, you're also said to have a proclivity to go off in any given direction. And the reading claims, considering how caught up you may get in your own energy, it may be next to impossible for others to relate their warnings, all right, if they're trying to get you on track. So your attention can wildly vacillate between positive dynamics or destructive, apparently. And with that being relayed, the book's recommendation to focus on cultivating self-awareness is a worthy consideration, I would say. One that has been given several times this period already. So it's a bit of a through line in that regard. So you aren't being singled out in that respect. It applies to almost everybody in the Pisces period. The reading goes on to consider one reason people born on this day may flirt with trouble is on account of the attention that such concerns may generate from those who care. But it's also said excitement that keeps you vital, all right? This also makes a certain amount of sense that you would tap into any source that you could to find and feel that way. Therein, I suppose, naturally follows the recommendation to be discerning of said sources with a focus on reward as well as longevity. And one could argue a fair amount, or a fair alternate title, rather, for the day could have been the day of pros and cons. They listed just a wild back and forth of what's good, what could be bad. Good could be bad. And considering that you're given with the costs of such things to come, I would say if you experience life more than the average person, as they said, it makes a certain kind of sense that you would take any given kind of excitement or captivating experience where you could. And so it's pretty interesting that all of that's coming to bear for you, because I would say this doesn't apply to a lot of people. That said, it would be interesting to see just how many situations where the negative after effects outweighing the excitement would typically have to occur before folks born on this day would start to change their approach, all right? How long are you going to be able to endure diminishing returns before you start trying to rethink this whole process? Kind of interesting idea. So maybe just consider it's the rare individual that translates experience into wisdom. And if you were here to pick up on that, and this stuff seems to apply here, hey, you know what? They said that a lot of folks never realize it. And maybe it's just not something that comes into their mind there. And hey, you just so happen to be here and hear it, so you might be ahead of the pack there. And at least you can, get ahead of the get ahead of the pack there, insofar as maybe starting to practice as much. Maybe you can I don't know, head it off at the pass before your body starts to break down and those diminishing returns start to pile up. In any event, got a little bit what do you call it, absent-minded there. I think I skipped a line in there. There's a part that might not have made much sense, but I pretty much think that I conveyed all the ideas I had in there. So hopefully you took some value from it. Before we move on to your numbers and your planets. All right, let's get into the astrology and the numerology, if you like. Those born on the 28th of the month are ruled by the number 1, as 2 plus 8 equals 10 and 1 plus 0 equals 1. And by the sun. And those ruled by the number 1 generally like to be first in what they do. And they are typically individual, highly opinionated, and eager to rise to the top. And the sun symbolizes creative energy as well as fire, and which is best kept flowing steadily rather than allowed to sporadically flare out of control. And the combination of the sun and Neptune, which is the ruler of Pisces, can make February 28 people overly romantic and sensationalistic. All right, I would say that latter one definitely applies if the breakdown holds true. That said, what did I have to say? This was a rather sparse entry for the numbers and planets. That said, it's pretty boilerplate. They added in there everything I think they needed to get their general point across. Though they did have to kind of add in the Neptune aspects that changed things up a little bit. But let's dive into what I had to say here. See if I can add a little bit to it for you. The number 1 in the sun for strong creative energy, and the fire that should be kept flowing steady rather than allowed to flare out of control. A suggestion that may mean more to you than just about anyone else who has gotten it, I would say. Sun ruled days rather, they typically hyper-focus on the title or the theme of the day, and they expand out from there. And today was no different with its exploration of living life for excitement and the myriad of ways that it could be realized and have its various effects. And I know I brought up that the days seem to be hyper-focused. It was just this pivot that they've made to basically approach every birthday breakdown like it's a sun-ruled day almost. That having been said, the sun-ruled days, they definitely have a distinct different approach and flavor to them. Here, I would say yours was a little bit more rounded out for a sun-ruled day, surprisingly, but still hyper-focused. So that's why I bring that up. But that said, the reiteration of liking to be first in what you do is a bit boilerplate. But I'd argue, based on the breakdown, you probably realize that in a very unique and personalized way. To say you personify it more so than realized it, if that's, you might not actually realize it in that definition of the term. But since Neptune represents dreams and visions and higher ideals and a magnetic attraction, I'd argue romance in terms of love, but maybe more specifically as a higher realized ideal. To say romanticism may be one of your chief driving forces. That's right, you're chasing after this ideal, this zest for life, because there's this baked in romanticism with it. Like, just living the high life. Let's get out there and just chase after everything we can. Damn the torpedoes, if you like. Let's see what we can see. So Neptune's definitely concerned with the higher ideals, and a lot of times this is realized as a commitment to a cause here, specifically in the Pisces period. Not necessarily anywhere else when Neptune comes into the bargain, but the other zodiac signs aren't necessarily ruled by that particular planet. They just get a little bit of the influence there. But here, interestingly, about this day, it's more focused on you. It's almost as if you're the cause. So pretty interesting in that respect. That said, that's been your numbers and your planets. So let's transition over to your tarot. That's right, one of the more eclectic of the New Age metaphysical ideologies, but hey, we don't have to take it home with us, start dealing out the cards to inspire our every whim or flight of fancy, though you sound like someone who might be interested in doing as much. But if you're not, hey, we just find out what it has to say, maybe make some connections with the the breakdown had to say and leave it in the book. So let's get into it here. The first card of the major arcana is the Magician, who symbolizes intellect, communication, information, as well as magic. Over his head is an infinity symbol, which in some tarot decks takes the form of a hat, and in others, a halo. Many interpretations may be drawn, one of which is that the Magician recognizes the cyclical and unending nature of life and is empowered by this understanding. The positive traits suggested by this card include diplomatic skill and shrewdness, but negatively a lack of scruples and opportunism. And the card warns February 28 people against getting carried away with the world of illusion and picking the wrong friends and using their energies for immoral purposes. All right. Hey, you know what? I personalized this one for you, and it's not often that the card stands as an example to live up to. All right? So pretty unique in those respects. Let's see what else I have to say about it. The Magician for recognizing the cyclical nature of life and being empowered by this realization, as well as shrewdness or sharp powers of judgment and diplomatic skill, which by and large I'd say speaks to you most aptly, but as an example of what to strive for. All right, the wisdom that you can acquire if you do the hard work. For on its face, based on the breakdown, you may buck these particular qualities in your zestful pursuit of life's experiences. And the entry justifiably then advances a warning of getting too carried away with said fascinations, falling victim to the negatives, even though they may not seem like negatives as you're taking part. So a valuable entry, I would argue, despite not being what you may like to hear. And that said, the crystallized wisdom, I would say, what can you take from all of these unique, special experiences that you're out there living? The ones that other people aren't apt to find themselves in, all right? You can take something from that and then use it elsewhere in your life. So you can build up the wisdom based on these things you're doing. Don't poo-poo what you're doing. You know, I know that might sound like another excuse to get out there and maybe get into a little bit of trouble. And maybe it is in no small part, but I would say generate some wisdom to say, I don't need to go out there and do that. I already went out there and did that. So take something from what you're getting out there and doing, I would say, and be like the Magician, all right? Use that wisdom that you cultivate there. Crystallize it if you like. That said, that's been your tarot. Again, it was highly unique in that it was an example of what to live up to. So let's move on to your health. All right, let's see what's healthy and not so healthy about you here, if you like. Those born on February 28 may not have great awareness of their body and how it works. An objective medical authority with whom they have regular checkups and health discussions is highly beneficial. In February 28, people must be particularly careful of chronic conditions affecting their lymphatics. Venous return of blood pooling in the lower extremities with advancing age may lead to varicosities. A regular exercise schedule involving swimming, jogging, and or yoga is a good combination of thoughtful body work which suits them. And those born on this date usually like to both cook as well as eat, so they should not need much encouragement in this respect. All right, this one was a little bit personalized for you. They approached it in a way that they don't typically. There's usually like a boilerplate layout, and then they plug in what needs to get put in its respective place. Here they kind of wheeled and dealed with it a little bit outside of that particular theme. That said, I just like people to know what's going on here. So to say they personalize it for you a little bit. So they said you may not possess great awareness of your body and its finer workings. All right. So regular checkups are advisable, especially if you're getting into all of life's excitement, I would say. Though it's a little surprising they didn't bring up being, aware of like accidents or hypervigilant that you don't injure your body. It seems like somebody who's after excitement in the book, particularly Mercury days, they're always chasing after danger. They always get a recommendation to be careful of accidents. And I would say someone who's zestful of life, it might be advisable in that respect too. But maybe not, who's to say? That's an interesting thing that I didn't notice they could have put in that. So Pisces body areas are given concern here in this particular entry, and they segue into a recommendation of regularly scheduled exercise of what sounds like a lot or a light to moderate variety. Though they didn't say as much, and I bring that up because they usually do. They qualify how hard you should go after the exercise. But they didn't here. They just brought up some specific exercises. No specific diet recommendations or foods, and that typically is in line with when they mention that you should try cooking. And I think there was only one specific day where they mentioned that I'd been guessing at it the whole time, that you might be incorporating nutritious foods into it if you're baking things fresh and you're getting your nutrition that way. And there's only one day where they brought up that is the case. So it's pretty interesting that my guess was right. But that follows suit for the period. They haven't been drilling down on specific foods. A bit of an anomaly for the book writ large, but not the period. So I've been advancing the idea of moderating dairy. And I say that because the lymphatic system, deals with moving mucus around and all the things that purify your blood, if you like. But dairy's apt to build up mucus and such, so maybe cut back on that just a little bit if you can. So what else do they have to say? Not much else. I think that's basically about everything. I'm surprised they didn't get into what makes or what improves your welfare, but hey, maybe you don't need that kind of recommendation because you already know. So in any event, that's been your health. So let's move on to some advice. All right, cultivate your contemplative side and confront the important questions of your existence. And don't get carried away with thrills and sensation. That which makes you feel alive must adapt to the aging process. That's right. You can't fight aging. All right. Hey, what did I have to say about what they have to say? Bear with me. My writing is tiny. I had to put it in the book itself. Ran out of space in the notebook. All right. Cultivate your contemplative side and confront existence. I had said it's not all fun and games, all right? Much as you may prefer it to be, okay? Wouldn't surprise me if asking questions of existence at some point was easier than the work needed to go into justifying a life spent chasing excitement, all right? So don't poo-poo it. It might just add even more value to what you're doing. And it may lend you to maybe consider, I don't need to do that. I've already gained what I could gain from going after some kind of piece of excitement like that. It's just going to be a diminishing return, perhaps. What else they say? Especially if your body's breaking down to that end, all right? You got to pick and choose where you decide to chase. They said, don't get carried away with thrills and sensation. I would say that dovetails nicely with that. May also spell an inevitable self-destruction if you keep chasing it down, all right? And if the days previous are any indication, I would say that's probably a wise thing to keep in mind, because self-destruction has been a watchword for the past few periods, really, all the way back to Capricorn. I think it came up one point here in today's reading, and if it didn't, I would be surprised. So that's right. Beware of self-destruction. Let's see. That which makes you feel alive must adapt to the aging process. All right. So do the other work also. All right. Cultivate that self-awareness, the experience of life. You don't want to be caught behind the ball when you no longer have the physical faculties, I would say. And again, it's not all fun and games, even though we may like it to be. But you have to be able to turn that unexciting into something exciting, I would say. So Dale Carnegie, that stuff, having friends and influencing people, or whatever the book is called, that's one of the tricks. Make yourself like it. If it's something you don't want to do, find a way to fool yourself into liking it, and then reaping the benefits from as much, all right? Again, not all fun and games, but maybe you can make it fun and games to some extent. At least to be getting the work done, I would say. So in any event, that's your advice. Let's move on to your meditation. That's right, it's your birthday. You get something to think about. And we're here in the bathroom where all the pontificating gets done, and they advise you to think about experience. All right. The object of one's enthusiasm is at least as important as the enthusiasm itself. All right, very interesting, very interesting. Once more, the object of one's enthusiasm is at least as important as the enthusiasm itself. All right, that's your meditation. It's your birthday. I'm not going to throw my spin or interpretation on what it may or may not mean. That's just for you to consider. All right, I would probably ruin it for you if I threw my spin on it or influence it one way or the other. I don't want to do that. So that said, your meditation in the can, as it were. Let's move on to your strengths and your weaknesses. That's right. Let's hold up the objective mirror, see where you got the girth or where you're strong, and then find out where you're otherwise a little more atrophy. That's right. Usually we already know, but hey, let's dive in. Sometimes it's a little surprising. Your strengths, you're vibrant, you're alive, and you're emotionally complex. Interesting. I don't know that I picked up on that one so much. But your weaknesses, let's hold that objective mirror up, but flip it to the side that blows up your face and shows off the things you might be otherwise a little more superficially, insecure about, like the pock marks you might have gotten on your face when you was a child, and your parents told you not to pick at the scabs, but you were too zestful, you were too crazy. It's too itching me. I find out for myself, and now it's carrying forward with you into a later age. There, that's right. Your weaknesses, if you like. You're over enthusiastic, excessive, and thoughtless. Oh, interesting. Over enthusiastic is a weakness. You know what? A lot of times I like to argue that our strengths are going to help us overcome our weaknesses. All right. But I also like to say our weaknesses can also be strengths. I've had a bit of a hard case the past few days trying to make my case for as much, but I'm going to give it the college try here. Yeah, otherwise. So that said, your strengths, you're vibrant, alive, emotionally complex. How is that going to help you improve on your weaknesses? You know what? If you're vibrant, you've just got that zest for life, like they said. So you're going to bring positive energy to as much. And there it's a case to be made for that, turning something that's unexciting, exciting, getting motivated to do it, turning it into a game, if you like. You're alive. I would say same argument there, even though it's just a little bit different. You're alive, all right? You're out there to experience things, even if they're bad, all right? So trying to cultivate some kind of means to overcome your weaknesses, hey, you know what? You're probably going to see it for the challenge it is and take something from it. Some excitement, if you like. That might be just something else that's new to you, new to experience, all right? Emotionally complex. Hey, I would say you've got all these things going on inside you to draw from in order to approach figuring out how to overcome your weaknesses. So you pick and choose from these experiences that you've crystallized in that wisdom, so you have a different or unique avenue that might best suit that particular problem. That said, like I said, these weaknesses could also be strengths. There was one day a couple months back, impulsive came up as a strength, but the very next day it was a weakness. So I got to thinking about what the disconnect was. Why is it strength for one person and a weakness for the other? And I think it just depends on the individual, their approach to things, but also the situation, all right? Over enthusiastic, hey, how can that be a strength? Well, let's say you get thrown in with a group who's just a bunch of bumps on logs, all right? You might need to do the heavy lifting to get those folks energized, to get them vibrant and alive, if you like, all right? And I would say being over enthusiastic is going to help you do that, all right? Now, I think I get what they're saying here. You can be too much of a good thing, and you can get off the rails there, derailed train. It seems exciting as it's happening, but that's an issue at the end of the day when it's laying there in the lake, right? It says you're excessive. Hey, you know what? What's excessive? What's good about that? I don't know, if you're throwing a party, perhaps, to show that overindulgence, you might want to show someone a good time. Maybe they haven't experienced that before. That would be a strength in that respect. But that can get out of hand again, all right? You don't want it to go off the rails. So balance, moderation there too. But again, that's a strength if you know how to keep it in line. Also thoughtless. How can that be a strength? Well, a lot of the times I do some unsavory examples. One example being like, say you're at work and they want to pawn off some particular project on you and you don't want to do it. And let's in this example say because you know you're not the best person for the job and it can be better accomplished by somebody else. If you start showing that you're thoughtless about such things, hey, you know what? They might be apt to give it to someone else. Now, again, that's a little unsavory, but let's say with the best intentions here, you know you're not going to do a good job, and so you want them to give it to who would. So you should showcase for some of your otherwise unsavory aspects of your complex nature there. And you know what? Maybe make up for it later by taking on something else you know you would be good at, all right? But who's to say in that respect? Maybe they're testing you to see if you try to get out of it. I don't know. So flavor to taste, understand the situation, and don't go off willy-nilly, I would say. All right. Not the best case in a lot of these circumstances, but I think this one was a little bit better than the past few days where I've been trying to make my argument. That said, I think you get the idea. But that also said, I also like to argue, don't get rid of your weaknesses altogether because they're part of who you are. That's right. You wouldn't want to get rid of over-enthusiastic now, would you? That zest for life wouldn't exist anymore, I would say. But I think you get the idea. So let's move on to those born on this day. When we get into those born on this day, not only do we get to see who shares your company, what lottery you drew for the folks who share your company, like I said. But something I like to do is use it as a tool to maybe help us start looking at driving after a passion in life. Because too often I get out and meet folks and ask them what they do, and more importantly, if they like it, and they don't. They don't necessarily have something to drive after in life that keeps them zestful, all right? And so I think it's perfectly understandable with as much people get right out of school and into a job so they can make ends meet. But the fatal flaw is it's got nothing to do with what they like. And sometimes folks don't even know what they like, all right? Because it takes time, energy, and work to figure those things out sometimes, let alone a passion. That also takes just as much work. So I think this is the perfect opportunity to not only see what other people did with their lives, but to take some inspiration and start driving after figuring that out for ourselves. Because if there's anything I can wish for somebody on their birthday, it's that they've got a passion in their life, a purpose to be getting out of bed in the morning and maybe doing all backflips to get into their day. All right. So if you don't have that here, well, let's just put the bug in your ear to help you stir up the fires for as much. All right. Start carving out the time to figure that out. All right, I think you get the idea. Let's dive into it. We start off with Mario Andretti, the only auto racer to win the Indy 500, Daytona 500, and the Formula One Championship. That may have changed. This book's a little older, but it might still stand. Who's to say? We also have Linus Pauling, the Nobel Prize-winning chemist of molecular structure, it says, a Nobel Peace Prize winner and a vitamin C advocate, and wrote How to Live Longer and Feel Better. We also have Vincent Minnelli, the film director of Meet Me in St. Louis, as well as an American in Paris, and married Judy Garland and is the father of Liza. We also have Benjamin Bugsy Siegel, the gangster who built the Flamenco Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas and was murdered, apparently. We also have Michael de Montaigne, or Michel, perhaps, Michel, not quite sure, French 16th century essayist, a skeptic, and a magistrate. We also have Tommy Tune, a Broadway dancer and choreographer, as well as an actor. Bernadette Peters, the stage and film actress. Frank Gehry, Gehry, an architect. Ben Hecht, Hecht, the names are getting me today, a journalist and a playwright. Also, a film director and screenwriter, also a novelist of broken necks, it says. We also have Zero Mostel, a comic film and stage actor. Charles Blondin, a French tightrope walker, crossed Niagara Falls on stilts, it says. We also have Brian Jones, the guitarist of the Rolling Stones fame, and it says swimming pool drug death, unfortunately. We also have Ernest Renan, French historian, Life of Jesus is something they're responsible for. We also have Willie Bobo, the jazz percussionist, Sir John Tenniel, British cartoonist and illustrator for Alice in Wonderland. We also have Geraldine Farrar, an opera singer, Stephen Spender, a British poet and a critic. We also have Christopher Kraft, the NASA Space Center director. We also have Gustav Thioni, an alpine skier, an Italian alpine skier more specifically, a four-time World Cup champion, and also an Olympic giant slalom gold medalist. We also have Dean Smith, a basketball coach, and he took North Carolina to 12 ACC titles and the U.S. Olympic team to a gold medal. All right, and that has been those born on this day. I butchered a bunch of names in there, to be sure, so let's make up for it on my side of things by butchering things. Yeah, it's not done in malice, it's just hooked on phonics isn't the best tool to be pronouncing names with. That having been said, that essentially rounds out your birthday reading. Like I said, I know it's a big-ass tall order to try and take inspiration from others, but hey, you know what? If I can help inspire you, put the bug in your ear about chasing after a passion, that my work is done, yeah, right? Can't wish for you for nothing else on your birthday, it's that. That said, like I said, that essentially rounds out your birthday read, except to say your season is winter, your sign, once again, is Pisces, of the Pisces 1 period specifically, and your quality and element is mutable water. What does that mean? That's a whole host of different videos altogether. I'll leave it at the end there for if you're interested. But this has been February 28th, the day of Zest, from The Secret Language of Birthdays by Gary Goldschneider and you Stelfers. I have an affiliate link for this book right above a personal message I like to leave for the birthday boys and girls if you're interested in checking that out. This makes an amazing coffee table book if you're apt to need something to help break the ice for company. Maybe you want to take the energy down just a hair and start doing the hard work. That's right, the existential type work. And you know what? This to help you do a little bit of that heavy lifting, and that link will help you save the hassle having to type it in the browser. That said, book having been relayed, what's important around here, like I said at the top, wishing you a happy birthday. So once again, happy birthday, all right? And for everybody else who joined us to celebrate, hey, I hope you enjoyed yourselves, took something of value from it, even though it's not your birthday. You know what? We can learn a lot of things from other people's experiences. That's right. But lest I forget, your daily numbers. That's right. Get out there and let the universe show you it's with you on your path. All right. See, taste, touch, smell, intuit, just a little bit of the magic. Stack up some coincidences or synchronicities. You understand why I brought it up for you. That said, I just want to thank you for the pleasure of your time. It was a privilege to share your birthday with you. And for everybody else that joined us, hey, I hope to see you for your birthday reading. All right, get out there, take care of yourselves, take care of your lower feet, your lymphatics. Those are the body areas for the Pisces. Maybe get yourself a pair of compression socks to fight off the stroke and embolisms there that they said you may be susceptible on account of the blood pooling, and work those muscles groups. All right, so you can get those lymphatics moving. We don't have a secondary heart as humans, whereas in other animals that do have them, it's there specifically to pump that lymph. And so since they're buried in muscle groups, we got to get moving and grooving to get it circulating. So be advised, all right? Maybe get you some compression socks. You got to take care of yourself out there being zestful, all right? So once again, happy birthday and take care.